Okay, we're going to go on and get started. We're going to record this session, and when it becomes available, the link is going to be placed in the course where you will have access to refer back to it as long as the course is in effect. So you will have access to this Zoom session till late November, early December. Okay, let's get started. Good evening. I'm Dr. Jones, your facilitator in this course. Tonight, it is my intention to go over the major assignments of the course, show you a couple of examples of major assignments, then have a question and answer session to answer any questions that you may have. So again, we're going to look at the major assignments of the course, some examples, provide a little additional clarity to each assignment. Then we're going to end with the question and answer session, and we're going to make sure that the recording is available to you throughout the duration of the course. So let's get started. And hopefully you can see the agenda. Okay. This course centers around the 10 Alabama standards for instructional leaders. These standards can be found in the course syllabus. They can also be found in Learning Module 2. Again, these 10 standards formulate the basis of this course. For this 16-week course, that's what we're going to be focusing on. All assignments, one way or another, will relate to one or more of these 10 standards. Okay. Now, the major assignments of the course. In every learning module, there is at least one discussion board. I ask that you make your initial post 2 days before the deadline. I ask that you make your initial post 2 days before the scheduled deadline. That gives everybody an opportunity to post, then look at the posts of their colleagues, and then respond appropriately to your colleagues. Again, please post at least 2 days before the scheduled due date. Then look at the posts of your colleagues, decide which ones you want to respond to, and respond appropriately. Now, there is an animal called Virtues of the Empowered Practitioner. For this course, it is patriotism and service. We will be looking for evidence of patriotism and service in many of the assignments. We will also be looking for evidence of other virtues, such as practical wisdom, responsibility, respect, integrity, initiative. But the main one you're going to be looking for is evidence of patriotism and service. When you find evidence of the other virtues, you must indicate those virtues. Now, there is such an animal called 3-2-1 summary. There are 5 of these. These relate to particular Alabama standards for instructional leaders. You must locate 5 research-based articles. 1 related to Standard 2, 1 related to Standard 5, 1 related to Standard 7, 1 related to Standard 9, and 1 related to Standard 10. These will come up in different modules, learning modules. Standard 2, Ethics and Professional Norms. Standard 5, Standard of Community and Care for Students. Standard 7, Community of Care for Staff. Standard 9, Operations and Management. Standard 10, School Improvement. 5 research-based articles, current. The articles must be current, written within the last 5 years. Current, written within the last 5 years. Please take the time to review the description of the assignment and the rubric. A description of the assignment and the rubric. You must provide a summary of the article. 3 things that you learn from reading, reviewing the article. 2 things that are applicable or you would like to implement at your respective school. 1 lingering question. The reference citation must be in accordance with the 7th edition of APA. Again, not only that, you must present this using some form of technology. You must present it using some form of technology. Canva, Smore, Prezi, Powtoon, Imazi, some form of Google, some form of Voki. Okay. So this is more like a presentation. At minimum, a summary, 3 things learned, 2 things applicable, 1 lingering question. Citation, 7th edition APA, technology. Take the time to review the complete description. Now, article summary. There are also 5 of these. These are your traditional paper or pencil type summaries. These relate to standard 1, 3, 4, 6, and 8. Standard 1, vision, mission, core values. Standard 3, equity and cultural responsiveness. Standard 4, curriculum, instruction, assessment, rigorous curriculum, instruction, assessment. Standard 6, building capacity for staff. Standard 8, engaging and communicating with diverse families. Please review the description first, the rubric. This one's a little different. In a paragraph, you provide a summary of the article. In a second paragraph, you address 3 things. 1, how the article impacts your leadership. 2, how the article is similar to your leadership. 3, how the article is different from your leadership style. 1 lingering question, reference citation according to 7th edition of APA. Okay? It's a little different. Take the time to review the description and the rubric. It's basically paper, pencil, no technology, but different questions, a summary, and then relationships, how it is related to your leadership, different from your leadership, and a lingering question. The cyberbullying simulation. Okay. The cyberbullying simulation. Take the time to review the description and the rubric. There are 3 to 4 different vignettes. You must provide a summary of each vignette. That's one thing that you have to do. You also have to identify within the context of the simulation standards that are evident. You are looking for, according to your rubric, you are looking for evidence of standard 2, 5, 6, 7, and 9. If you take a look at the rubric, it's going to ask you for evidence of these standards. Ethics and professional norm, community of care for students, building capacity. 7, community of care for staff. 9, operations and management. It's not enough for you to just say, yes, standard 2, 5, 6, 7, and 9 are in the simulation, but where are they? Then you have to make some selections or some choices. What should you do first? What should you not do? How should you respond to the different vignettes? At the end of the simulation, you're going to get a printout of the decisions that you made were positive or resulted in positive outcomes. You will also get a printout of the negatives, the choices that probably shouldn't have been done. Then you'll be asked to reflect on the simulation itself. You'll be asked to reflect on evidence of the virtue, patriotism, and service. And finally, you'll be asked, what do you think of this simulation? Is it meaningful, beneficial to school leaders, or should this be something that the university discards? Again, you're looking for summary of the vignettes, evidence of standards 2, 5, 6, 7, and 9. You'll make some choices. Some of them will come out to be great choices. A few may be negative of things that you probably would change if you were given a second opportunity. You're looking for evidence of the virtue of patriotism, service. You may see some other virtues. And then you want to reflect on the simulation, the description, and the rubric. Now, the required internship activities document is a very, very, very important document. This is the document that you will use to select your 30 standards-based activities. We're going to look at the document shortly. This is the document that you will utilize to select your 30 standard-based activities. Now I have to quantify that. 10 of the activities have already been pre-selected. You have no choice in doing those. The instructional leadership staff here at the university has pre-selected one activity per standard. You have to do that one. Then you must select 2 additional activities per standard. Working with your mentor, you will select 2 additional activities per standard. Once you select the 30 activities, you will transfer them to this document, the Standards Planning and Summary document. We're going to take a look at this document. This document is due in 2 weeks. So you have 2 weeks to work with your mentor to identify the 30 standards-based activities that you're going to complete, and you're going to transfer them to this document. Okay. Now we're going to look at this document. Somebody, we're getting a little feedback. Okay. We're going to look at this document in a few minutes. There is also an example of what this document should look like after the 30 activities have been selected. Now, you must have a minimum of 4 activities at each level of the internship experience. That means you must have at least 4 activities at the elementary level, 4 activities at the middle school, junior high level, 4 activities at high school, 4 activities at central office. Now, the majority of the activities will be completed at home base. But to ensure you have a diverse internship experience, a minimum of 4 activities must be completed at each level. And again, we're going to look at the document. We're going to look at an example. Okay. Now, by the end of learning module 7, you must have completed all 30 standards-based activities. By the end of learning module 7, you must have completed all 30 activities. Now I need to go back and mention something to you. With standard 3, you have to include appropriate demographic data and subgroup data. You cannot get full credit for this activity unless you include the appropriate demographic and subgroup data of your school and your community. Now, again, by the end of Learning Module 7, you must have completed the 30 learning activities. I'm sorry, the 30 standards-based activities. Now, what does that mean? You need to look at the time that exists between Learning Module 2 and Learning Module 7. Then you must come up with a plan of attack that works best for you to ensure that you have completed these 30 activities by the end of Module 7. The plan of attack is different for different candidates. Your plan may look a little different from somebody else's plan, but you have to have the 30 activities completed by the end of Module 7. Course embedded field experience, okay? There is a midterm progress report that you have to do. Long or about 8 weeks into the course, you have to provide me with a progress report. And the progress report is basically, how are you coming with meeting your timelines for the 30 standards-based activities? A second thing that you have to do is you have to accrue internship hours at each level. You have to accrue 10 hours at the elementary level. You have to accrue 10 hours at the middle school level, 10 hours at the high school, 10 hours at central office. Now, what does that mean? You have to visit elementary. You have to visit middle, junior high. You have to visit high school. You have to visit central office. Now, how you visit is determined by the policies, the practices, and procedures of your district. Again, how you visit and gather these hours depends upon the policies and procedures of your district. Some things can be done virtually, some cannot. Some hours can be accrued after the normal work hours, such as an open house, such as a back to school, such as a supervisory assignment that your mentor assigns you. But you have to accrue 10 hours at each level. And you say, well, I work at a high school. Why do I need to go to an elementary school? The reason for that is you have to have, one, you have to have a diverse experience. Two, you could very well end up being an administrator at a location other than you currently are. A middle school could very well end up being an elementary assistant principal. Or a high school person could very well end up being an elementary or junior high. And central office, you could very well end up at the central office in transportation, in curriculum, in special education, in human resources. So you need to know how and the inner workings of each level. And the only way to do that is to visit and gather an understanding of what it's like at that particular level. Mentor's evaluation. You must have one mentor of record. Now, near the end of the course, your mentor will evaluate your performance on the 10 Alabama standards for instructional leaders. Your mentor will also evaluate your performance on the 30 standards-based activities. There's two.
Hey,
There
Ray.
is an evaluation component built within the course.
Can they see you?
You will
Ma'am?
have to, I'm sorry, you will have to get your mentor to evaluate your performance.
I'm not camera.
That assignment is 15 points. Now, if your mentor provides
You lazy.
constructive feedback and you do a short video of your mentor providing feedback
Yeah, it's fixed.
evaluations, you get an additional 5 points.
Yeah.
I did. I just made noodles, and this is like sweet honey chicken, like a PF Chang's bag.
Can you mute, please?
They ate noodles.
Can you mute so we can, some of us haven't eaten and we're a little bit hungry, so can you mute just a little bit? Again, the mental evaluation assignment is a 20-point assignment. 15 points for the actual evaluation and 5 points for a video of feedback being given to you by your mentor. Now, there is a second component. It's an online survey. This is for program improvement. This is for accreditation purposes here at the university. You will complete an assignment called Mentor Contact Information. This is your mentor's name, school, email address. Once we get this information from you, we will send your mentor a link to an online survey. And this online survey is related to your evaluation. It is also related to an evaluation of the course. The mentor's contact information is a 5-point assignment. It can be used in one of two ways. It can be used for 5 points, or it can be used for 5 bonus points. But we really need this in order to complete this. Now, by now, most of you should have already submitted your paperwork to Ms. Hawley for placement. Should be 2 forms. And once you submit to Ms. Hawley, she's going to give you an email or a letter that you will in turn send to me. And then I will post the 10 points. Again, you send Ms. Hawley the paperwork. She grants approval of your placement. I cannot grant approval of your placement. And once approval is granted, you send me the letter where approval has been granted and the 10 points. She has to grant approval of your mentor. She has to grant approval of your placement. Reflective journal entries. You must have at least 1 entry per level of the internship experience. Elementary, middle junior high, high school, central office. So that's 4 reflective journal entries. And then a final entry for a total of 5 is your choice. You can provide a holistic view of the internship, or you can provide an aha moment that you experienced when you were at one of the levels. You saw something from an administrator or at that school that you would like to continue when you become an administrator. Or you saw something when you were visiting interning that you will never do when you become an administrator. So the candidate's choice is a holistic view or an aha moment that you saw. Okay. Now you can submit these as one assignment. You can do a Word document and submit them as one assignment, or you can submit separate entries. The system is designed for you to submit separate entries or one Word document. It's easier for me to read one Word document with the 5 on there, but you don't have to do that. The system is set up for you as you complete a level, you can write a reflective entry. Portfolio submissions. We're going to show you some examples. Okay. The portfolio is contained within the course. It is not a portfolio outside of the course. There are 10 different submissions or uploads. One portfolio submission per standard. And there are 3 activities per standard. So the 10 required activities, which we've pre-selected, must have appropriate artifacts, standard-based summaries, 3-2-1 reflection. Then you must include your 2 choice activities with appropriate artifacts. Now, one more time. The portfolio submissions, there are 10 of these, 1 per standard. Each standard has to have 3 activities. The required activity, which is pre-selected, the 2 activities that you and your mentor select. You must have a description of each activity, how the activity shows proficiency with the required indicators. And we're going to look at the indicators that you have to have. What was learned from the activity. Now, an example is provided for portfolio submission 1. An example is provided for portfolio submission 1. It's a decent example. It's not the only way to skin the cat, but it's a pretty good example. Now, I'm going to go back, or we're going to go back, and we are going to look at the required internship activities document, the document that you will use to select your 30 standards-based activities. Okay. This is the document that you will utilize to select your 30 standards-based activities. Now, keep in mind, we have already selected the required activity. Working with your mentor, you will select 2 additional activities. So here's the document. It's found in Learning Module 2. That's where it's located. Here's the empowered practitioner. Here are the specific instructions. And here we go. For standard 1, mission, vision, and core values. Here is the required activity. All required activities are in bold print. Here's the required activity. Review the strategic plan for your school or district. Note the personnel involved in the plan's development, implementation, and evaluation. You're looking for standards 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. Investigate support and concerns from the various parties. 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. The required artifacts that you have to include. Copy of the strategic plan and videos or interviews. Now, if you provide interviews, you list the question, the person's response, and have that person to sign, because that's proof. A list of questions is no proof that you actually got the person to respond to the questions. The video will speak for itself. But if you do an interview, have the interview questions, and have that person to sign their response, whatever the response may be. Now, working with your mentor, you will select 2 of these. Remember, 3 per standard. Update the plan to achieve the school's vision and goals. Attend the school site leadership meeting to observe the structure and decision making. Now, if you attend a school leadership site meeting, such as a school board meeting, this can also count as central office hours. I'm not saying pick this one, but if you attend a school board meeting, that can be counted as an activity. It can also be counted as central office hours. Review and compare 2 different district vision mission statements. So you and your mentor will pick 2 of these, provide appropriate artifacts and appropriate reflections. Standard 2. Remember the required activity is in bold. Review the Alabama Code of Ethics. After reviewing the Alabama Code of Ethics, locate your own code of ethics and compare. Now you may say, we use the same code as the Alabama Code. If you do, say, we use the identical code. Are there any differences? Meet with members of the staff, not certified staff, but meet with classified staff. Secretaries, custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, assistant teachers. Discuss their perspective of what is considered positive ethical behavior. Get with the classified staff, ask them some questions, get them to sign as proof that they responded and answered. Now, avoid any discussion of specific instances or persons. Don't ask them if the principal is stealing the activity money and is that considered ethical. Don't ask them about who's dating who if they believe that's ethical. Ask them general policy, what do they consider positive ethical behavior? Don't get in the weeds. Don't turn that into me. Ask them about positive ethical behavior. The standards you're looking for, 2.1, 2.2, 2.4, 2.6. The artifacts, copy of the Alabama Code of Ethics, your district code, and the interviews. And remember, you have to authenticate the interviews by getting their signatures. And any recommendations for changes to policy and procedure to make ethics better. You might have some great policies, but nobody's following them, or the consequences are too strict or not strict enough. And then you and your mentor will pick 2 of these. Interview the school nurse. Now, if you interview the school nurse, get the nurse to sign something. Yeah. Interview a school administrator, get the administrator to sign. If you ask a series of questions, ask the questions, his response, her response, signature. Prepare and present a professional development seminar. Your artifact is going to be some sort of presentation, PowerPoint typically, or a prezi. Determine how your district is in compliance with FERPA requirements or IDEA requirements. Those are special ed things, confidentiality things. Okay, now, remember on this one, you have to include data, subgroup data. Remember, to get full credit for this one, you have to include demographic data. Using an appropriate technology medium. So you've got to use some form of technology. Develop a brochure that promotes cultural diversity in your school district. Share the brochure with your mentor, colleagues, and somebody from the community. What are their thoughts on your brochure? Remember, you have to include the demographic data, because the demographic data and the subgroup data is going to drive how your brochure should look. Required artifact, the brochure with the demographic data and peer reviews by the stakeholders. Then you and your mentor are going to pick 2 of these. Participate in the student placement process. Here we go again. Attend a local school board meeting. You can't count it 2 or 3 different times. You can only count it once. So you just can't go to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting to claim your 10 hours, because you want some diversity in there. Examine the fairness of method used to gain consensus. Plan a school-wide cultural or educational celebration. Develop anti-harassment policies. Okay. Standard 4. Now, standard 4 is a little bit similar to what you're going to see in another assignment. Form and lead a team of teachers to study and develop a plan for improving test scores. That's the required activity. A plan for improving test scores. The plan must be feasible. Standard 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. This time, pay attention to how the virtue, patriotism, and service is demonstrated among the participants, as well as any other virtue. Initiative, perseverance, integrity, respect, reasoning. The required artifact is a copy of the plan of action. And the plan of action should be based on some data that you identified in order to come up with an area that's in need of improvement. Agenda and signatures. Then, working with your mentor, pick 2 of these. Standard 5, community of care and support for students. The required activity: review policies dealing with bullying, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. Determine if the school is following the policy. Assess whether practices within the policy are effective in meeting the needs of all students. Do you have policies? Do they meet the needs of all students? A summary of the policy and any recommendation should be included in your review for compliance. The required artifact is a copy of the policy. Reflections. Working with your mentor, pick 2. Develop, plan, and implement one strategy that a substitute teacher could use. You know, substitute teachers really have a hard time, especially when the kids know that they're not going to be back. They're just there for that one day. Examine the district school discipline policy and provide an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the school's discipline policy. Review policies related to dealing with bullying. Okay. Now, standard 6 is a very important required activity because of the shortage of teachers, statewide, nationwide. Okay. Design a web page. You can work with your human resource department on this one, or work with your principal. Design a web page that recruits, selects, mentors, evaluates, provides lifelong learning activities, fosters a nurturing climate, people want to stay, provides an excellent benefits package. So you can look at what your district currently does to assist in designing the web page, but you may have to get a little bit creative. Remember, you want to be able to recruit to your district or to your place. In order for some of us to recruit, we've got to have a good sales pitch. Come here because our ice is so much colder. Our sugar is so much sweeter. The rolling hills and the quiet streams is a good place to come and relax and teach. Even though we don't pay as much as down the street, but enjoy that cold ice, that sweet sugar, and those beautiful, beautiful trees that you could even put your house in. I'm being a little facetious, but these are desperate times. There is a shortage. We've got to find a way to address it. And sometimes we got to think outside of the box. Now, that was a little facetious, but a web page that recruits, mentors, evaluates, nurturing climate, help people to want to stay, and excellent benefit package. Okay? The artifact is the web page itself. Okay. Working with your mentor, pick two of these. Participate in the hiring. Participate in the teacher interview and hiring process. That could also count as hours, internship hours. You have been asked by your principal to sit in on an interview. Investigate the application process and district orientation process for newly hired teachers. You could go to the central office and work with a human resource person. That could count twice. Okay. Pick two of these, working with your mentor. Standard 7 is somewhat similar to 4. Meet with a grade level or department team and lead a PLC. Remember, in 4, you were looking at data to come up with a plan of improvement. This is somewhat similar. 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.7. The artifact, a presentation, a copy of the presentation, PowerPoint, however you want to do it, PowerPoint present, agenda, and signing. Working with your mentor, pick two of these. Standard 8. Most of you have already completed a major portion of this assignment. This is the collaborative problem-solving assignment with a little twist to it. Using technology, communicate the glows of your school and the grows of your school. You've already done this in Learning Module 1 with the collaborative problem-solving side. And solicit the support of families and communities. You identify your glows using some data. You identify your grows using some data through some form of technology, Twitter, Facebook, a robocall system, a meeting at PTA, and a PowerPoint. You talk about the great things that you've identified going on at your school through data. Then you segue into the things that's not going so well. And then you say, parents, business community, I need your help. And this is what I need you to do to assist us in maintaining our glows and changing our grows into glows. So using some form of technology, you communicate your glows, your grows, and you solicit support. You've done most of this already in Learning Module 1. The required artifact is the technology medium that you use and communicating the glows, the grows, and soliciting support. Meaningful engagement of families and communities. You let them know what the goals are. You let them know what the goals are. You solicit their support, families and the community. Then you and your mentor pick two of these. Now, this one's really different. This one's really creative on your part. Review the indicators of operations and management. There are 12 indicators. There are 12 indicators of operations and management. Review those indicators, group those indicators into major headings, and then determine the central focus of Standard 9. What is Standard 9 about? That's all this is asking you. When you look at the 12 indicators, and remember the indicators are listed in your syllabus. They're also listed in your portfolio tab. Creatively address the central focus of the standard. Using a talking caricature, evoking some sort of powtoon. Just tell what the standard is about. Just holistically talk about the 12 indicators. That's all you have to do. Talk about the 12 indicators, but you have to talk about it through animation. Evoking a talking caricature. And then, working with your mentor, pick two of these. Standard 10, which is school improvement, is somewhat similar to Standard 1. School improvement plan. Now, I know some of you say, I don't have a school improvement plan. Yes, you do. You are required to have a school improvement plan. It's called different things. Some of it's called ACIP, some of it's called ACAP, some of it's called school improvement plan. Some of it's may be called a strategic plan. Typically, a strategic plan lasts from 3 to 5 years. A school improvement plan is typically for 1 year. You look at some data, you determine the problem and weakness, and you come up with some strategies to address it within that school year. But everybody is required to have, every school is required to have a school improvement plan. Okay? Discuss with your principal or chair of the school improvement plan the process that was used to develop the plan. How was this 1-year plan developed? Who was involved? What are the timelines on achieving the goals? What data was collected or need to be collected? How will the plan be evaluated? What goals did you address? 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.7. The required artifact is a copy of the school improvement plan. Your principal or your instructional coach should know where the school improvement plan is. There's probably some type of building level committee that works on school improvement. Then pick two of these. Okay. Now, just in case, okay, let me go to, okay, here we go. I'm sorry. Please excuse me. This is what the standards planning and summary document looks like. The required activity is already included on the document. Again, this is in Learning Module 2. 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. Now, this says plan activity, okay? In this column, write a description of how you plan to complete this activity. Okay. Remember, this time around, you only have to plan. So in this particular column, how do you plan to complete this activity? At what level? Will this be at the elementary level, middle school, high school, central office? When is the anticipated date of completion? A description of how you're going to do this, the level, and the date. Now, working with your mentor, you will fill in this one. You will fill in this one. You will get these from the chart, the required activities document that we just went over. All you're doing is transferring from that document to this document. Now, you see something that says mentor choice. If you and your mentor look at all of the activities on that required document and say, I need something else done for that particular standard, your mentor has a right to substitute as long as it relates to that standard. Mentor's choice. Your mentor can substitute one activity per standard as long as it relates to that standard. However, there can be no substitution for the required activity. Everybody's got to do that one. Then you've got to do at least one from that required activities document. And if your mentor says, there is something else I need you to work on, it can be written in here, but it has to relate to the appropriate standards. Here's standard 2. Review the Alabama Code. It's already on the document. How do you plan to complete this activity? What level? When is your anticipated that? Remember, this is the planning document. Standard 3, the required activity is already on there. Then working with your mentor, you fill these two in, you put your plan. Okay, now let me okay. Here's an example. This is in module 2. Okay, here's the required. Here's how this person plans to complete this activity. He's at the central office level. January the 10th is his plan. Attend a school site leadership meeting. He says he's going to attend Wednesday morning leadership team meeting. Wednesdays is when they have leadership team meetings. This is going to be done at the elementary. This is going to be done in February. Review and compare 2 different district. Review Vestavia's vision mission statement. Review Clay Chalkville. This is going to be done at the high school. It's going to be done February the 23rd. 2, review and compare ethics. Remember, you have to look at Alabama Code of Ethics and compare to your own. Meet with custodian, secretary, the assistant teacher in the pre-K. Ask what training might be helpful in these areas. That's going to be done at the elementary. It's going to be done February the 15th. Interview the school nurse. It's going to interview the school nurse about protocols. At the high school, February the 27th. Interview the principal. He's going to interview his mentor. February 22nd. Yeah. This is about the brochure. Work with the placement office to create a brochure. They're going to work with their placement office. So this is going to be done at central office in March. Develop anti-harassment policy and strategies. Review other schools' policies. This is going to be done at the middle school. March. Attend a local school board meeting. They're going to attend the school board meeting. High school. This could also be central office. School boards typically central office. The meeting is going to take place February the 27th. Create a group of elementary teachers to focus on math test scores. Elementary, March the 6th. Remember, this is only being transferred from the other document. Facilitate activities with teachers to horizontally and vertically align the curriculum. Elementary, March. Mentor's choice. 5. Remember, 5 is about looking at the policies to see are they effective in addressing everyone's needs. Review policies dealing with bullying and LGBTQ. Summarize the policy and make recommendations for how to comply to make policies better. Going to be central office, February 21st. Examine the district discipline policies. It's going to be done at the elementary level, 13th of February. Review policies related to bullying. It's going to be done at the middle school, the 10th of February. 10-6, create a recruiting page for the school that shares the best benefits that we offer. Now, remember, it's more than recruiting. It's about mentoring. It's about lifelong learning strategies. And it's about benefits. So this one needs a little bit more. February the 27th. Participate in interviews. Sit in on an interview panel throughout March. Okay? That's going to be done in March. They're going to sit in on interviews in March, looking for staff for the upcoming year, or hopefully somebody didn't quit in the middle of the year. 7, this is the required activity, the PLC. These are the 2 that you and your mentor selected. Meet with a group of middle school teachers, middle school level, March. This is what it should look like. Remember, in about 2 weeks, this is your plan. The activity transferred from the required activities document, working with your mentor, a plan, a level, an anticipated date. The anticipated date is to make sure that you have everything finished by the end of Module 7. Okay, let's see, can we find... Now, here's what a complete document should look like at the end of Module 7. Here's the plan. Here's what I actually did. Here's the level. Here's when I completed it, and my mentor signed off on it. You're going to need your mentor to sign off on each completed activity. As a required plan, what I actually did to complete it, the level, the date that it was completed. This example is found in Module 7. So this is what a complete document should look like. A completed document should look like. Remember, this one's pre-selected. It's already on the document. Working with your mentor, you fill these in. This is the plan that came from module 2. This is how you actually completed it. This is a level, and this is when. Now, if you will note, this 624 was scratched through. This person had planned to complete this on 624. But something came up and they were able to do it on the 16th. So sometimes your plan doesn't go as expected, but if you don't have a plan, you have no assurances that you're going to finish in time. Now, this is a 16-week course, but time is a factor. So now that's that. Now, there's one more thing that I need to show you, and that's the portfolio submissions. Okay. You will see something that says portfolio submissions. When you click on this, it will bring up standard 1, standard 2, standard 3, all the way to standard 10. Now I'm just going to do 1. I'm going to click on portfolios 1. Okay. Here's what comes up. The standards that you must address: 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. Now, the deliverables are basically your instructions. You should submit the artifacts that accompany the required activity and 2 additional activities for standard 1. Remember, the required is pre-selected. The 2 additional ones are the ones that you and your mentor. You should include the instructional leadership standard. Okay. The summary justification must include the standard indicators embedded within the context of the summary. And we're going to look at an example. You don't have to be exactly like this, but remember, there are 3 activities per standard. So you're going to have to upload artifacts for the required activity, artifacts for choice activity 1, artifacts for choice activity 2. Then you're going to have some standard-based reflections. Now, in standard portfolio 1, I have provided an example. Now, yours don't have to look like this, but this is a pretty good one, okay? Standard 1, mission, vision, core values. Activity 1, remember this is the required. Review the strategic plan for your school district. Note the personnel involved in the plan's development, implementation, and evaluation. Standards 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. Investigate support. Now, required artifact: copy of strategic plan, video interviews with at least 3 personnel. Now, they provided a link to their strategic plan because strategic plans are typically big documents. So they provided a link to the plan. And when I click on the link, it takes me to the strategic plan. Now, here's the committee. The principal, the assistant principal, Brown. Okay. Here's the mentor signing off that this is in fact the committee. Here is a snippet of the actual strategic plan. Further documentation. Here are the questions that they asked these people. Okay. Here's the questions. Ms. Jane Brown signed off with her responses. Martin signed off. Here's a description of the activity. Here's standard-based reflection. 1.1 is in bold print. 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. And here's the 3-2-1 that you have to have only with the required activity. Throughout this activity, I learned a lot about how school leaders work together to create and carry out a plan to help. Two things I found especially interesting. One question. Here's the activity that they work with their mentor to select. Review and compare two different district vision mission statements. Note strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Here are those two comparison study of the vision statement. This one says, dream it, believe it, achieve it. It's short and memorable. Then the other school was a little different. So that's review and compare two different. Here are their artifacts. Here's the reflection. Mentor signed off on it that he saw it or was involved. And here's the other activity. Create mission, vision statement posters to put in the school and in the community. I created these posters through Canva for both the school and the community. Here's a link to what it looks like. And they also included it. Here's a reflection. Mentor signed off. Now, this is a pretty good example for portfolio submission 1. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It contains the required activity. It contains the appropriate artifacts for the required activity. It has signed documentation of interviews. Then the 2 choice activities have decent artifacts, decent reflections. This is pretty good. So you've got an example of what a plan should look like for the standards planning summary document, learning module 2. You've got an example of what the standard plan summary document should look like completed with signature of your mentor. You've got an example of what standard 1 should look like. You can use this as a guide for the other standard 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 things I'm going to say, and then we're going to have some questions and answers. Question comes up, do I have to start with learning module 1 portfolio submission? Now, where you start with the portfolio submissions is in accordance with your plan. If it works out best for you to start with standard 1 and work your way to standard 10, then you do that. But if your school or district is already reviewing its discipline policies, you might just want to start there. If your school has not filled some vacancies and is already interviewing, start there. What works best for you works best for you in completing the 30 standard-based activities. Your plan must be complete in learning module 2. The 30 must be completed by the end of learning module 7. Now, with that, questions. We'll take them one at a time. Oh, I'm sorry. Typically, I'm in the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 9:30 to 2:30. If you need to call me, then you can call me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday while I'm in the office. If you need to email me, you can email me any day of the week that you need clarity or have a question or a concern. Again, I'm in the office Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursdays and Friday, I'm visiting schools. So if you need to call me, I'm here between 9:30 and 2:30. If that doesn't really work for you because of scheduling or different other things, you can email me and I will respond to your email as quickly as possible. I respond to all emails. Now, if that doesn't work, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday doesn't work, if emailing me doesn't work, and you still need a little more assistance outside of that, then call me. Call me, 662-361-0196. If Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday office hours don't work, if emailing anytime, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday don't work, then call me, 662-361-0196. Now, a few caveats. If you need to call this phone, don't call before 8:30. Because at 6 o'clock, I get up and go walking, power walking with my brother-in-law. I've got to get rid of some budges in some places that I shouldn't have budges. So every morning, like clockwork, I'm huffing, I'm puffing, I'm climbing hills, I'm going down the road at 6 o'clock. I don't have enough energy to huff, puff, and talk to you. I get back to the house, take a shower, then call me. So call me around 8:30 after I've huffed and puffed, gotten cleaned up. Caveat. Don't call after 10:30. Don't call after 10:30. Because after 10:30, I'm in the land of dreams or I'm in the land of nightmares. One of the two. So if Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday office hours don't work, if Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, emailing doesn't work, then call me between 8:30 and 10:30 any day of the week. Just give me time to get home, get me a shower, call me before I get into bed and start snoring. One final thing. Every Sunday, after I get out of church and get settled in, I send an email out. I send an announcement. The announcement is about what's coming for that particular week. What assignments, what expectations. So every Sunday, you're going to get an announcement. Around Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, I will have graded 50% of your assignments. Now, if at that time I notice that everyone is missing the same thing, or everybody's getting the same wrong answer right, then I know that I didn't do something and I need to send out an email at that time. So you'll get an email every Sunday. Then, if something needs clarification, I'll do that. Now it's time for questions. I saw something in the chat, but let's take the questions out orally so everybody can hear them.
I kind of had two different questions.
Okay?
Okay. The first one is I'm an instructional coach. So some of this, like I did interviews all summer for the positions that we had open, or like I write our ASIP already. And how, like, am I allowed to back
On the
date
ASIP,
things that I do?
on the ASIP, yes. On the
Okay.
past interviews, no.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then my other, well, the ASIP, that doesn't matter because I got to write a whole new one by September 15th anyway. So, my other question is, how do we know like what the high school or middle, or I'm middle school, so like what the other two schools are doing? Because our mentor is probably at our school, and so
Correct.
they know what they're doing and how they can help us. But how do you recommend that we get the, I'm not worried about the hours because I could just go, follow them around for a day, but getting the activities in the other schools I worry about because I don't know if they're doing those things or when they're doing them, or, does that
It's
make
not
sense?
when they are doing them, it's when you're going to do them.
I know, but if they're interviewing, I
Okay.
don't know when they're in, some of them are time sensitive if they're having BLT, or we call them BLT, but if they're having leadership meetings or, some of those, they have schedules for them already. So how do we know, how do
Okay.
you best
It's
approach
going to be
doing this?
different for different people, but you're going to have to establish some sort of communication system to identify, to introduce yourself, to let them know of the 30 standard-based activities, which ones you would like to do at their school. So you're going to have to open up a communication channel at the other schools. Through your principal, through your assistant principal, or through an instructional coach somehow or another. You're going to have to, because it's going to be different for different people. So what works best for you may not work for another person. But establishing a communication tree, letting them know that you're an intern and that you have 30 standard-based activities. I would like to complete these at your school, or could you look at your school and see if there's a need for these to be done at your school? Other questions? I'm not sure what, it was something in the chat, but I didn't quite get it. So,
I have a question.
okay.
On the internship summary sheet, I did 579 already, and this one's just a little bit different, but it kind of snuck up on me, and I don't want it to sneak up on me again if I learned anything from the last course. Can you, like, are we just copying what we have in our planned document into those spots?
Okay, that's a yes and a no.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can find the document that you're talking about.
Okay. It's in, I think, module 7 is that where I found it. It might be in 2 as well.
It's in 2, but it's actually just supposed to be in. Okay, let me see if I can, so everybody can see what you're talking about. Okay, here's the document that you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at the elementary level, you're supposed to have a minimum of 4 activities. At the middle school level, you're supposed to have a minimum of 4 activities. At the high school level, a minimum of 4 activities. at the senior high, I'm sorry, central office, a minimum of 4 activities. Now, to answer your question, it's a yes and a no. Your principal or the site supervisor may assign you specific tasks other
Gotcha.
than the 30. Now, if it's one of the 30, you provide a description, when you completed it, and the appropriate standard. If it's an assignment or task that your principal, your site supervisor at the other place asked you to do, you write it in when you completed it, the appropriate link. Now, typically administrators may ask you to sit in on a conference to observe a teacher. They may ask you to perform bus duty. Now, if the administrator asks you to perform bus duty or carpool duty, that in itself is not an administrative task. If he asks you to observe policies and make recommendations for safety or improving the bus drop-off, that is an administrative task. But if he just says, I want you on bus duty, that's not an administrative task. Or if he says, I want you to come to the football game, that in and of itself is not an administrative task. But if he asks you to observe safety procedures and make some recommendations, if he asks you to observe how they account for the monies, that's an administrative task. But if he just asks you to come to the game and root for the team, that's not an administrative task. So the administrator of that particular location has the right to ask you to perform administrative tasks. You provide a description of that task, when you did that task, and you link it to an appropriate standard. Now, if the principal says, I want you to go on a field trip with the kids, that is not an administrative task. If the administrator sends you and asks you to observe safety, if the administrator sends you and asks you to stand in my stead and be in charge, that's an administrative task. But going to the prom because you're the senior sponsor is not an administrative task. I'm being a little facetious, but it could be the 30 standards-based activities, or it could be any administrative task assigned to you at that particular level. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, next question.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
My first one is, with the collaborative problem solving discussion board, where you said we have to have a signature of with the interview. Would you like that in a Word document and upload it into the discussion board post?
Yes.
Okay, and
You
then
can list the questions, their response, and a signature. All right.
okay, thank you. And then my other one was for the internship, the 10-day residency.
Okay, now, before you ask that question, there is no 10-day residency in this course. The 10-day residency only applies to IL 579. It's a 10-hour in this course. 10 hours at the elementary, 10 hours at the middle school, 10 hours at the high school, 10 hours at central office.
Okay, that's what I was confused about, because I did write that you said 10 hours at those levels, but I was like, I don't think that adds up to 10 days.
Okay.
But, and then my last one with the field experience approval, me and my principal, we've been missing each other for the past like week or whatever, but she has it. And Is it fine if I send it on tomorrow? I know you said we should have been sent it, but is it fine if I send it to the person on tomorrow for approval?
Yes, let me say this. Miss Harley coordinates placement for undergraduate as well as graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So the turnaround may not be as quick as you would like, but
Okay.
as soon as she gives you the approval, you submit it to me. If it takes her a few days to get to you, go on and complete other assignments while you're waiting on her approval that can be completed.
Okay. Thank you so much.
She's got placements at the undergraduate level. She's got placements counseling. She's got placements with us, instructional leadership. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I was the person that put them in the chat, and I was talking about on the course schedule where it has portfolio submissions listed under each module. I was wanting to know, does that mean that each week we have to submit at least one of those standard portfolios?
That's a yes and a no. That's to make sure you pace yourself and have them completed by the end of learning module 7. So if you look at the schedule, every module is going to ask you for a portfolio submission. There are 8 modules, but there are 10 portfolio submissions. They are due at the end of module 7. So you're going to have to come up with some sort of plan to ensure that you have the 30 completed and uploaded to the portfolio submission tab by the end of module 7. So when you see portfolio submission, you're going to see it as a reminder that you need to be submitting something. It doesn't necessarily have to be starting with portfolio submission 1 and ending with portfolio 10. You have to work out your own system. But if I were you, I would try to complete something weekly.
Yes, sir. Because I was thinking, like, for example, the first reminder is for September 9th, but if I haven't, like, if I've done, one activity for standard 1 and one activity for standard 7 and maybe another for standard 9, I wouldn't necessarily have one total standard completely done, if that made sense.
That makes sense, but now you don't submit until you have a total standard.
Right. Yes, sir.
And let me also, I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay. When you submit the 3 activities, you're going to get some feedback from me. If you score 8 or more, you're good to go. If you score less than 8, you get a second opportunity to fix that. So on every portfolio submission, you get 2 tries to make 80 or better. Now, since different candidates will be working on different things at different times, you have to notify me when you're ready for me to check something. If you're ready for me to check portfolio submission 2, shoot me an email that says check portfolio submission 2. I'll check it. I'll grade it. If you make 80, keep moving. If not, you'll get a second chance to fix whatever it is you need to fix. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Additional questions?
I have a question, but it's not for this class. It's based off what someone else said about the residency.
Okay.
I'm nervous about days. I'm a math coach at a school, and in 10 days, is that broken up into a certain amount of hours?
Okay.
And I have that many days.
I mean, no disrespect, but Dr. Krause, Dr. Davis, and Dr. Hildreth teach IL 579. That's not a course that I teach. So any specifics on 579, you would need to talk to Dr. Tammy Krause. She coordinates 579. She coordinates the internship piece. I'm sorry, the residency piece. So as far as the specifics, you would have to ask her. If it's 10 days at one time, if the 10 days can be broken up into 5 hours a day, I don't have the answer to that. That's for Dr. Tammy Krause. And I don't mean any disrespect. Next question. But Dr. Krause is very good to work with, and she responds to emails real quick.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Will you remind me again where we put the portfolio? I see it in the portfolio submissions, but I know in 579 I had to create one, and I'm just kind of missing that.
No, you're not missing it.
Okay.
The portfolio is within the course.
Okay.
So you click on portfolio submissions, you'll see portfolio 1, portfolio 2. That's where you'll go to upload your artifacts and your standard-based reflections. It's not you go off to a separate
Okay.
portfolio.
Okay, perfect. And that's why they kind of had it in a running document as opposed to breaking it up like I did in the other course, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
One more question. I know I seen on the video where you showed us about documenting your internship hours, but I kind of forgot where you said to find that,
To find which now?
the paper or the PDF document to document our internship hours to get it signed off on.
It's in Learning Module 7.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Any other question? As a reminder, as soon as the recording becomes available, it will be placed in the announcement section and it will be available for you to refer back throughout the course. Announcements are weekly on Sunday and later in the week if clarity is needed. Office hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9:30, 2:30. Email 7 days a week, anytime. The phone, 8:30, 10:30. Anytime you need to call, anytime you need to email, anytime you need some clarity, we'll get it done because we want you to be successful in this course. Have a great night. We're going to have a great semester. We're going to get it all done.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.